Hi, and welcome to this episode of Shop Miscellany. I've got a couple items that I've acquired recently and a couple items that just sort of need a little work on them. So I figured I'd cover that here. First of all, I'm going to take a look at some tools that were sent to me by Drill America. And if you watched my recent video, you saw me using these and I reviewed them a bit there. But I just wanted to give them another shout out because these drill bits are pretty freaking fantastic. The bit cooler you've seen before, I've reviewed one of these before, and it's a great design if you're gonna like keep your tools in the back of your truck or something, and you know, they might be exposed a little bit to the elements. The seal here will help keep humidity out of them and protect them from getting damaged. These particular drill bits are really cool. There's like a standard drill bit, except the end of them goes to a step drill bit and a center drill. So everything but the very smallest one, everything from the 1/8 inch on up, has a center drill and or a step drill add-on to it. By the time you hit, let's see, what is it, 11/64, you're starting to get the step drill added along with the center drill. But it's pretty fantastic if you're worried about drill wandering, especially when you're using a hand drill. These are pretty fantastic, and they cut through the cast iron I was using last week like butter. So I have nothing but good things to say about them. These are cobalt drill bits, so they're harder and can take a little bit more heat, so you can run them a little faster. And the quality is outstanding. They're very sharp, they cut very quickly, and the step drill is kind of handy if you want to countersink the bottom of your hole with a step pattern, but it also lets you have some lead in to your drill bit that you don't need. Like ordinarily, if I was going to drill a 1/2 inch drill, if I was going to drill a hole 1/2 inch diameter in some part using a hand drill, I often would not start with a 1/2 inch drill bit because it would tend to wander. I would start with something like 1/8 inch, followed by maybe 1/4 inch all the way through, 1/8 inch just a little ways in, 1/4 inch all the way through. Then I'd follow up with the 1/2 inch, which should hopefully then follow that 1/4 inch hole. With these guys, you don't need those extra steps. They're just gonna go. This is a pretty fantastic set, and I am very pleased that they sent it to me. I'll give a link down below onto their website. These are actually pretty expensive, but I think they're worth it. You can get individual sizes if the set's too much. And it looks like they also sent me a pen. I was taking a closer look at this pen and I missed some stuff. So there's the pen, right? It has a metric ruler and an English units ruler. I didn't notice it has a level built in. And then on top of that, call it crazy, there's a screwdriver with Phillips and flat bits in the end. I have never seen an all-in-one screwdriver that, an all-in-one pen that has so many features. It's kind of crazy. Never seen anything like this. Thought you might be interested. And on top of all of that, for your cell phone, has a stylus, one of the big styluses that some people use with their cell phones. Kind of interesting. And a hat, so some pretty nice swag. I think these are one of the nicest set of drill bits I've ever gotten for hand drills, especially. They work fine on something like the mill or a drill press, but they're especially handy for hand drills. Moving on. Next up, I have this stereo 1/8 inch headphone extension. This actually came with my Sennheiser headphones, and the reason they have them is so that there's a really short cable on the end of the headphones themselves, and if you turn quickly it disconnects rather than damage the cable. Well, eventually it damaged the cable. This whole piece used to be potted with plastic. This is the female side, and I soldered it back together briefly, and it worked until it broke the leads because I don't have any strain relief on the wires, so eventually they work hard and fall off. So what I thought I'd do is I'd make a little plastic bit that fit over the top of this, and I can fill this end here to offer some strain relief with hot glue. And I thought that might be an interesting project, so I think we're gonna take a look at that. I'm gonna make a round plastic bit that fits over the top of this, then has an opening in the back that I can fill with hot glue to give some strain relief to the wires here. And I can resolder this up, and then hopefully it'll work for a while longer. I can always make another one. Actually, I don't really want the 1/8 inch jack on here. I want a 1/4 inch normal stereo headphone jack because of where it plugs in. This is what I use when I'm editing, and I'm always turning and yanking this apart here, because I don't leave the cable long, because when the cable's long, it wraps around the arms of my chair and then yanks out, so it's like you can't win. All right, so the diameter of this guy is 0.315. I've got a piece of 1/2 inch acetal here, also known as Delrin for the trademark name. And 0.315, using my Drill America chart already, 0.315. 315 is close to 8 millimeter. O is 0.316. So I guess we'll go 5/16, 312. That's too small. So yeah, it's either going to be 8 millimeter or O. I went with 8 millimeter because that was really close. And this being Delrin, it should drill very easily. I'm going to throw in a chamfer just to make it look better. Just going to desolder the wires off the previous portion, and I'm going to have a little bit of, I just realized I need to make the back larger diameter because of this guy right here, because they actually have me solder the black lead to the shell. This is a very inexpensive, cheesy female connector, just so you know. They're not all like this. This is pretty low quality, which is kind of sad, but this is a mass-produced Sennheiser headset. And even though Sennheiser's a really good brand, this is, yeah, this is kind of crappy. So I made the fit pretty good on this guy here. And so I think I need to drill out the back of this to be somewhat larger, because it's not going to clear the little solder section I'm going to have there. So I think I'm going to drill this out just a little bit bigger. I'm going to use a 3/8 inch end mill to do a flat bottom hole. We're going to go in 1/2 inch. And I realized the absurdity of repairing a connector like this. This was an inexpensive connector to begin with, and I could go to DigiKey or Mauser and probably get one for a few bucks. I could probably even get a high-end one for like 10 or 15 bucks. But this is just a sort of a stopgap. Plus, I'm interested in seeing how I can repair this thing. So that's what I'm going to do. This wire that Sennheiser's using is nowhere near as good as the wire they used to use. This is PVC insulation, not particularly strong. And the wire they used to use on headphones, they're more expensive ones. Well, these weren't cheap, these were $100. But the headphones that used to be $100 in the 1980s and 90s, Sennheiser used stainless steel wire instead. And that stuff was just amazing. Super strong. It was really hard to solder to. I have a feeling they silver soldered it back in the factory. This soldering iron has a temperature adjust on the handle. It's an Edson. It's a pretty handy soldering iron for your portable toolkit. I think we're good to go on the soldering there. And now this piece will just push into this and stick out, the wire will stick out the back, and then I'll just fill the rear of this, which I have, you can see the cut in there. We're going to be taking that and filling it full of hot glue. So I made this kind of a tight fit, which is not bad. It means the hot glue won't penetrate out the front, so we can set my depth. All right, there we go. Now we can fill this with hot glue. Should be good to go. Have this heavy duty hot glue gun. This is a sort of a higher end one, 300 watts, and still it's built really poorly. The plastic is really kind of flimsy on it. Kind of disappointing because this was fairly expensive. One plus about it is that it can put out a large volume of hot glue at one time. By the way, if anyone noticed that the stringy bits of hot glue that come off the end remind you of something, it's not an accident that in the studios, spiderweb guns are made by taking a high wattage hot glue gun like this with an air nozzle right towards the end and blowing air as you slowly disperse the hot glue. And it tends to look a lot like spiderwebs on camera. All right, so here's the connector finished. And this should last at least a couple more years before I have to do something else. I can always re-terminate this. But in actuality, I'd like a 1/4 inch tip ring sleeve on the end of here, not an 1/8 inch like this. So I think they also call these like 3-point-something millimeter connectors. But in any case, this will work for now. And it was sort of fun to do. I just was curious. Got to wait for the hot glue to cool down and solidify. And we should be good to go. Next up, I have this countersink that someone at work gave me, and it's a 0.875 or 7/8 of an inch countersink. I'm not quite sure what they use this for because a 1/2 inch Allen head cap head bolt is 3/4 inch. This would be a lot of extra slop around the edge. You'd really want a 3/4, but maybe that's what they use it for. But I can't really use it because it has a lobular shank on it. And the lobular shank is basically 2 offset cylinders, one on either side, coming off the main cylinder. So I thought I'd take this over to my surface grinder and remove the lobes here. I could actually make a lobular shank holder, but since I don't have any more of these cutters, it seems sort of pointless to make the receiver for it, which again shouldn't be too bad. Although they didn't go with half the diameter of this offset. It's some weird offset, so I'd have to calculate that. But in the meantime, I think we're gonna go and take this over and grind this guy. We have this countersink mounted in a rotary chuck, and what I'm going to be doing is taking each lobe down individually. I set my 0 based on the smooth section that's 9/16 of an inch. Actually, it's 1,000th under, and I set my 0 there. And so I'm going to take each lobe all the way down. I've got about 64 thousandths to go. I set my 0 based on that. It's going to be kind of hard to show you this, so I'll show you a little bit here. I'm just going to set the camera down. We're going to drop So we have about 50 thousandths to take off each, or 60 some thousandths to take off each lobe. I'll bring you back when it's done. All right, so here's the part ground. You can see the flat here, and then you can see the part I just ground. Took it down to be exactly the same height as this area here. And that's 9/16, so that'll all fit in a 5C collet like it is now, or it will fit in a standard drill chuck if need be. So there you go. One last look at the fit. You can see the high points here that were removed. And here's a 5C collet, and if I squeeze a little bit, you see it doesn't catch up. It's just the same height, so now it'll grab on the whole thing. Next up, need to make a new dog lead. I know that may not be super interesting. This was the handle from the old one, and since my dogs are both more or less puppies, they tend to chew on everything, and when you're not looking and they're stopped somewhere, they'll just start chewing on the lead, and they think that's great. So we need to do something about that, make a new lead. So my wife chose this material because number one, it matches their collar, and number two, it's easy to see. And since we have 2 dogs that tend to run crazy, we need to keep them tied together so that you can walk them. Otherwise, it's really difficult. To cut the holes in the material, we need 3/16 is the size of the rivet. And we've got this Mayhew Pro punch set that I've shown before. It works really well, even on this material, even going through multiple layers. As you can see with all these holes here that I've made others of these leashes in the past. They just keep chewing through them, and then so I keep improving the design. So that's where I'm at currently. Yeah, so I think we'll start by riveting this. All right, so the first one, I'm going to reuse two of the washers I had before. These are much bigger. I found some smaller ones here. I've got some 3/4 inch fenders. These are 3/16 stainless, and they're, I don't know, like 60 thousandths thick. These are thicker, so a little beefier. These apply a lot more pressure. You know, let's do the small ones on the inside because there's not much weight on it. It's just this bag here. So you just push the rivet through, push the other side of the rivet through, hold it tight. And then what I do, since this part sort of sticks out and I want to make it a little stronger, I take this over to the anvil on my vise and I hammer it flat, which makes it just stronger and holds tighter. So the next piece is going to be this one right here. And I want it to come around. And so I already have a hole, and this should line up with the hole on the other side. It goes through this stuff like butter, to be honest with you. And this holds the hole open, so I'm going to leave it there. I need the longer ones now. 1/4 inch gripping range. I'm going to use a big one for this. Ooh. I don't think 1/4 is quite enough. I think I need to go to the next size up rivet. Fortunately, I have a range of sizes here. This one might be too big. I don't think I have anything in between though, so we will see. I might have to hammer this one a bit more, but I think it'll be okay. So there's this sandwich. You see how it's tucked in there? That makes it so that you don't have to see the ends because the ends aren't pretty. I've done several iterations of these because, again, as I mentioned, the puppies keep chewing up the lead when you're not looking. Yeah, that'll be okay. Let me hammer this guy down here so you can see how much it's sticking proud before. And after, no problem. By the way, just for interest's sake, if you're curious, I take this over to the Scotch-Brite wheel on my grinder at the end because they do have sharp edges after you hammer them flat, and I take all those edges off so that there's no sharp edges anymore. Okay, there's the first start. There's the first part with this guy that goes in here. So here's the handle and the doggy poop bag that hangs off of it. And then this is the lead itself. So the next bit here goes to the swivel. And so again, so you don't see it, I'm going to do a full loop here, like so. So I'm tucking this in flat against itself and then folding the whole thing back, like so. There we go. First part of the swivel is done. Now on the second part, I have two of these, which go to the part, these hasps here that connect to their leashes. They're kind of heavy. I've been looking for some lighter ones, but I haven't run across them. If I do, I'll end up buying them because these are kind of overkill. More than kind of, they just are overkill. So with these guys, what I've been doing is like this, folded back on itself. I think we need to go with the longer ones here because this material is a lot thicker than the previous stuff I used. There we go. Just need to hammer that flat. roughly the middle. Here's the finished dog lead. This carabiner I use to hook onto banisters and things like that when I'm out with the dogs and I need to just hold them up, tie them up just temporarily. Plus this clips onto a carabiner on the seat of my car, the headrest, that lets me attach the leash to the car while I'm trying to attach the dogs to the lead, because if whippets get away, they can really make a run for it. And then we've got a little section here to hold the dog poop bags, the external dog poop bag thing. And then the lead itself with a swivel, which is necessary because they're going to twist up, and two fixtures to attach to the dog's harnesses that also run swivels, because the dogs whip around themselves, and so if you don't have that, you'll be tied up in no time. Anyways, this was a pretty quick project, and I know it's not exactly machining, but it sort of has crossover skills, so I thought I'd share it anyways. Thanks for watching. Hope you find it useful. Hope to see you next time.